through this unified crime reporting system.
The FBI compiles reports of hate crimes in the United States, and year to year in Oregon, they say the numbers are up.
So they reflect likely both an increased reporting as well as an increase in incidents. And that's the troubling thing.
Kieran Ramsey is special agent in charge for Oregon. In 2020, there were 271 hate crimes reported in the state, up from 170 reported the year before. That's a 59% increase.
There are any number of factors, societal drivers, let's call them, across the country and here in Oregon, with the divisiveness that we can see in various segments of our community.
Divisiveness over race has been a huge reason for demonstrations calling for change in our communities. It makes sense when you look at the reasons for hate crimes. In Oregon, the FBI says 70% of reported hate crimes were motivated by race, ethnicity, or ancestry. From there, religion was the motivating factor for 10%. Also 10% for sexual orientation, and 3% for gender identity. One example of a crime motivated by racial prejudice happened in late 2019 at an Arby's restaurant in Eastern Oregon. A black man sitting at a booth waiting for a job interview was stabbed and seriously injured by a young white man.
This individual is obviously arrested immediately. During the arrest and subsequent interviews, continues to state, unfortunately and really horrifically, he did so because that individual, the victim, was black and he hated black people.
Then 27-year-old Nolan Levi Strauss eventually pleaded guilty to a federal hate crime. But there are many other cases, including in the Portland metro area, that never make the news, and even more where victims don't come forward. So the FBI is launching an awareness effort. Look for information on billboards and bus stops, radio and TV in multiple languages, encouraging people to not suffer in silence.
Our purpose for this whole entire campaign is to drive community awareness, to really make sure people understand there is yet another resource out there, the FBI, that wants to hear from victims today, tomorrow, the next day.
Tim Gordon, KGW News.
Developing now, a Lincoln County deputy shot a person who allegedly pointed a gun at deputies. It started with the call of someone carrying a rifle while walking down the street. It happened this morning in South Beach, a community south of Newport. The sheriff's department says deputies repeatedly asked the person to drop the rifle, but they did not. Deputies say the person pointed the gun at them, so a deputy fired at the suspect. The suspect was airlifted to a Corvallis hospital for treatment.
More help arrived for Southern Oregon's beleaguered hospitals struggling with COVID patients. 40 traveling nurses went to work in the Asante system today. Another 40 will join them tomorrow. In the meantime, ICUs like Three Rivers Medical Center in Grants Pass hold more patients than they were designed for. The ICU, this one, was built as 12 single patient rooms, but the demand is so great that staff squeezed in a second bed, and many rooms now hold 2 patients. At a briefing today, a doctor talked about why the Grants Pass area is seeing so many patients.
One, we've had fewer previous infections in the last 18 months, so we've had more susceptible persons in our community. We have low vaccination rates. We are now facing a more aggressive virus.
He also said relaxed restrictions during the summer and more travel helps spread the virus. Three Rivers Medical Center in Grants Pass is licensed for 125 patients, but under a special permit from the state, it is now caring for 146 patients. It has also seen 28 patients die over the last 7 days.
Nearly 50,000 students in Portland had their first day of school today, and many of them went to school in person. This is what it looked like at Scott Elementary. Some were excited. It was the first day back in-person school. Others, though, were pretty anxious about it. We spoke with a number of teachers who say they're worried about that intersection of kids, full-time in-person schooling, and the contagious Delta variant.
We have some situations where we literally cannot seat kids 3 feet apart from each other because we have too many students in a classroom.
Not only am I worried about kids coming in and contracting it themselves, but we have kids who are going home to multi-generational families.
A teacher sent us this photograph here. This is a photo to demonstrate how crowded it could look in a classroom. This is 40 adults in a room that has 40 high school students on the roster. Portland Public has said if 3 feet of distance can't be maintained, furniture can be moved or teachers can switch rooms. The district is also working closely with public health experts.
Vancouver School District started yesterday, and this was the scene in front of a Vancouver school yesterday morning. A long line of parents dropping their kids off. More parents may be choosing this option because there's a big shortage of bus drivers right now. Mike Benner found out the issue stretches across the country.
Wednesday marks the first day of school for Portland Public Schools. For the first time in a long time, yellow buses will be rolling down our streets, but not without difficulty. PPS leaders say it's been a significant challenge recruiting bus drivers, and by no means is PPS alone.
We're looking to fill 100 driver positions right now.
And at your last job fair, how many people showed up?
We had 16 show up at our last
16.
job. 16.
That's the situation in a Florida school district, and it's no better in Maryland. Listen to how one driver there explains the driver shortage.
The pandemic has done a lot to deter people from applying to be school bus drivers because of the close quarters that you're in on a school bus.
Back in Portland, the driver shortage will impact bus routes at 17 schools. We're told bus routes may be consolidated or pickup drop-off times adjusted. District leaders say they're tackling the problem by pulling licensed drivers from desk duty in the transportation center and borrowing drivers from other school systems. No doubt it's a tall task, but it appears to be temporary, as PPS is hoping to be fully staffed again in a few weeks. You can find a list of the schools impacted by this bus driver shortage on our website, kgw.com. In the meantime, nobody from Portland Public Schools was able to go on camera and address this driver shortage. But in an email to parents, they said they know this will cause an inconvenience and last-minute adjustments for some families. They apologize and appreciate the understanding. Reporting in North Portland, I'm Mike Benner for KGW News.
In the political world, Oregon House Speaker Tina Kotek announced today she is going to be running for governor. Kotek joins 3 other Democrats in the race. Next year, along with 11 Republicans, Kotek has been Speaker of the House since 2013, and she's the highest profile candidate to officially join the race so far. But State Treasurer Tobias Reed, Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum, and New York Times columnist Nicholas Kristof are all considering running. Kate Brown is not running for re-election because of term limits.
A successful Portland business is giving tips to some young entrepreneurs who had a bit of a setback. Last month, the kids' snow cone cart was stolen. They were able to raise enough money, $11,000, through a GoFundMe to buy a new cart. Then this week, Salt and Straw stepped in, offering advice and a tour of its central kitchen.
When we heard the story about these kids that were starting their own dessert company, we fell in love with kind of what they were doing and how they were kind of really going out and doing something innovative. So we wanted to see if we could help in some way.
Polar Cone is now back in business at the corner of 16th and Broadway in Northeast Portland.
St. Helens, the St. Helens High School Marching Band is getting back in step now after someone took their trailer full of gear. The trailer holds all their equipment, including tents to change in, supplies to cook with. On July 13th, someone stole that trailer and everything that was inside from the school parking lot. Luckily, no musical instruments were in there. You know how expensive some of those can be. But to replace the trailer and the contents, it cost $10,000.
It was a real bummer for these kids, and we've had to really bust our butt to try to replace it.
Their plight struck a chord, you could say, with community members, and not just in St. Helens. Rival bands from Tigard and Sherwood High School, they made donations along with a GoFundMe account, raised about $11,000, enough to cover the cost of a new trailer.